I'm gonna be honest, gang. Like he's 50 something, dating a 19-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even want to hear the rest of that story. You're literally old enough to be her father. Like stop it. Get some help.
Hey Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out.
You're saying you want him to drop the entire tape? Yo, Shannon, that's crazy work.
I know you missed this big juicy bleep, $25K for each cheek.
No way you flex a BBL for a freaky text. No.
And then you have this apparent message from March 14th, 2024. I want to be abused, daddy.
Shannon, you should have just cut it off right then and there, gang. I'm kind of looking at her crazy now. That's an outrageous request. You don't just request that.
Racist against rappers, they all look the same to him. They used to beg him not to egg him on Halloween. He told him holler back with the suede pumas, dollar green. Nah, I mean, heated up till the temperature tarball. Y'all just gawk like gargoyle.
I'll come out and say it. I don't know the first thing about the Shannon Sharpe allegations. This is all news to me. The last time I heard about Shannon Sharpe, he was getting freaky on IG Live. And trust me, that was against my will. That was knowledge that was against my will. Okay. Dang, this dude's a
Target in his sights.
Here we go. We finna find out. Shout out to Law and Crime Network. Explosive lawsuit claims Shannon Sharpe raped woman he met at gym. Oh my Jesus. Okay.
NFL legend Shannon Sharpe. A brand new lawsuit was just filed in Nevada claiming Sharpe was manipulative and abusive and eventually sexually assaulted a Jane Doe, with the latest claims allegedly happening as recently as January. We got our hands on the filing and we're going to break down everything you need to know. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime.
What in the world? January? Ain't no way.
Tony Busby's back. The lawyer who went after Sean Combs, Jay-Z, we'll talk about that. Well, he is still swinging at high.
This dude is going, golly, is he just going after every millionaire on the planet? Every black millionaire? What, does this man have a death note or something?
Profile men that he claims are abusers. This time he's calling out Shannon Sharpe, the 56-year-old NFL superstar turned podcaster and commentator. Brand new lawsuit filed against Shannon Sharpe. We got a copy of it right here. It was filed out in Nevada. We're going to go over it. But Shannon Sharpe, because you don't know who he is, he played 14 seasons in the NFL with the Denver Broncos, the Baltimore Ravens. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2011.
I'll be honest, I didn't even know all that.
He retired. He spent time as a sports commentator and analyst. You might remember that he co-hosted Skip and Shannon Undisputed with Skip Bayless from 2016 to 2023. Bayless and his then employer, by the way, Fox Sports, they faced their own accusations of sexual misconduct in a separate filing from earlier this year. We covered it here on Sidebars.
What is it about money that just makes niggas unnaturally horny?
Well, now Sharpe is part of the sports podcast space. He hosts two shows, Club Shay Shay and Nightcap. In fact, you remember his interview with comedian Cat Williams in January 2024 on Club Shay Shay? That helped spark, I should say, a renewed interest in Sean Diddy Combs and his...
Every cell on that nigga's face looks freaky.
alleged bad behavior at his infamous parties.
Bad boy.
Got a lot of people talking.
Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did.
But now it's Shannon Sharpe who's in the spotlight for his own accusations of abuse. Because on Monday morning, Texas attorney Tony Busby announced on his Instagram that he'd filed a $50 million lawsuit in Nevada court against Sharpe. On Instagram, he wrote in part,
"If it's one thing you can say about Busby, he definitely is a bag chaser.
I'm extremely proud."
What is with these Jane Does? Like, this is kind of crazy.
To represent Jane Doe, it takes a great deal of courage to stand up against those with power, fame, and money. I look forward to pressing this case in court. So we're going to go over this, but I want to first bring in John Clune, civil attorney who litigates on behalf of survivors of sexual abuse and sexual assault. John, so good to have you. And again, this is kind of breaking news. I didn't have an opportunity to fully go through this lawsuit, so you and I are going to break this down.
So this is all brand
in
new.
basically real time. When we saw this early this morning, it was a shock to us. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was the timing of it, to be honest. Before I read the lawsuit, just the timing of it for it to be filed, on Easter Sunday, that struck me as an unusual move. But then as I...
Dang. It must have been pretty bad if you had to file it on Easter. Jesus. Okay. Hold on.
went through the lawsuit, the allegations are pretty disturbing. We don't know if they're true or not, but what's written in the complaint is pretty terrible stuff.
Mm-hmm.
John, I have to say, to go after Shannon Sharpe, if you're Tony Busby, after what just happened with Jay-Z. Remember, he filed that lawsuit on behalf of a Jane Doe, a woman who claimed that she was 13 years old.
That, I ain't gonna lie, Busby is even right now, 1 for 1. 1 for 2, or however you want to say it. He's got Diddy hook, line, and sinker. I'm not gonna lie. Like some kind of W is gonna come from that Diddy case. There's no way that man is completely innocent. Jay-Z, that accusation, I ain't gonna lie, that shit got blown out. And now I'm kind of looking at Busby a little crazy. So is this finna be another Diddy case, or is this finna be another Jay-Z case? Like, what we talking about?
Back in 2000 and was sexually assaulted by Jay-Z. That lawsuit was dropped. And it came after serious questions of her story and credibility surfaced, both by reporting by NBC News and evidence that was presented by Jay-Z's side. Jay-Z...
I swear, it looks like Diddy has baby oil in his hair.
...by NBC News and evidence that was presented by Jay-Z's side. Jay-Z ended up suing this woman, suing Tony Busby as well. So now, to go after Shannon Sharpe, another high-profile figure, does that tell you that he feels he has the evidence in this case?
Well, Mr. Busby is a pretty bold mover in this space. I mean, he seems to not be, shy about his decision making. So it could mean that he's got the goods in this particular case, or it could just be, kind of par for the course, and this is how he, handles his high-profile cases.
I'm not gonna lie, like, surely there's gotta be something. Like, mind you, I still haven't heard about what evidence. I haven't heard nothing yet. Surely there must be something, because to go after Jay-Z and then flop and then proceed to go after another rich, successful, famous black entertainer, it's like, what I mean? There's gotta be something there. Like, there's no way it's not, right? He's not that reckless, is he?
But and me and I know, you can't just file a frivolous lawsuit. You can't file a lawsuit to harass somebody. You have to believe the law, the facts. There's, there has to be some semblance of facts that you put forward in a complaint that pass an motion to dismiss test.
Something has to be there. Like he said, you literally can't just do this at random. You know what I'm saying? Something has to have been there. Like, something has to have happened. Now, did he like link up with this girl and then she's trying to play it behind his? I don't know.
So he has to feel that he might not have all the evidence right now, but he has to feel confident in Jane Doe's account, right? Otherwise, he'd be breaking ethics rules.
Are you saying that there's a chance he filed this with no evidence? It's no way. No way that's what you're telling me. There's a chance he filed this lawsuit with no evidence after getting stomped on by Jay-Z. There's no way. There's no way. How much is Jay-Z must be suing the gray hairs out of his head, bro? Because there's no way I would. Yeah,
and the thing with these accounts, like in a sexual assault, just a Jane Doe against an individual, is it's really hard to get rid of that case on a motion to dismiss, or even down the road on a motion for summary judgment. Because if you have your client who's saying, this is what happened to me, and then in this case, say Mr. Sharpe says, no, that's not what happened, it was very different, that's really a trial issue. That's not something a judge is really going to dismiss on motion. So other types of cases that have more subtle elements to them maybe can get dismissed on motion, but this kind of thing is really hard for a defendant to get rid of short of trial.
By the way, our content shows just how rampant crime is right now, and that is especially true with cybercrime. Cybercrime?
I knew it. I knew this was an ad. I usually watch the ads, but low-key, this is already finna be a long video.
Typically speaking, how likely is it that she will be able to continue moving forward in this litigation anonymously? I know in the Sean Combs case, several courts have said that the Jane Does and possibly even the John Does have had to come forward.
That's a crazy picture, bro. I don't want to see Diddy sticking his tongue out or anything out.
And reveal their identities. Talk to me about what the interests, the different factors the court will look at, and whether or not Jane Doe would be able to proceed anonymously.
Yeah, I'd say at best it's 50-50 that she's able to proceed in that fashion. I mean, generally speaking, there's a strong preference in the courts for transparency and open proceedings. That includes using your real name in the lawsuit. If you can convince a court that there's a public interest in keeping her name from the public, which can be something like safety issues, it can be the shame of the situation, if it's the age of the person, quite often if they're underage, you're much more likely to be able to keep the suit.
So I'm gonna go ahead and skip this part because I'm pretty sure her name and face already got exposed, right? It was some white girl. She was 19 or something.
To keep it as a Jane Doe.
Yeah, and I've seen the argument put forward by the judge. Basically, if you are choosing to lawsuit and put your credibility and Tony Busby, let's not forget, he filed numerous lawsuits on behalf of others against Sean Combs.
Yeah, but there might be actual, like, you know what I'm saying? There might actually be something to those.
How his name has really come up in the news in the past several years, right? He held that press conference where he said that he was representing so many dozens and dozens of accusers against Sean Combs. So now I want to dig into what this lawsuit has to say. So Tony Busby,
finally.
Let me just say this. Known for his flamboyant speech in his civil filings, and in this one doesn't appear to be any exception because it begins, a woman can say yes to consensual sexual relations with a man 99 times, but when she says no, even once, that no means no. Defending
Damn. Yeah, this nigga, oh, hell. Okay.
Shannon Sharpe, a man who's accustomed to getting what he wants, completely fails to understand this basic concept. After many months of manipulating and controlling plaintiff, a woman more than 30 years younger than he, and repeatedly threatening to brutally choke and violently slap her, Sharpe refused to accept the answer no and raped plaintiff, despite her sobbing and repeated screams of no.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to see. There's got to be some evidence for this gang. There's no way you can't just say all this and then just not have no way to back it up. Like, this is crazy work.
According to the complaint, Jane Doe worked out at this same gym as Shannon Sharpe in Los Angeles, and she was 19 at the time. This is what she claims. And she claims that he had been watching her during her workouts and finally introduced himself, insisting that she give him her number. And the filing says that Jane Doe found Sharpe, quote, physically intimidating. The lawsuit reads, over the next couple of weeks, Sharpe incessantly pursued plaintiff. He constantly approached her at the gym and attempted to contact her frequently with phone calls and text messages asking to meet up, unwilling to take no for an answer. Eventually, plaintiff gave in and agreed to meet with Sharpe outside of the gym. However, before doing so, Sharpe demanded that Doe sign a non-disclosure agreement, or NDA, something plaintiff found a bit concerning. She wondered why Sharpe was so insistent on her signing an NDA. She refused. Despite his repeated efforts to get her to sign, she refused time and again. Eventually, he dropped the issue and invited her to his house.
Honestly, that's where he messed up. If any of this is true, like, no, you're not, no, I'm not inviting you to my house. You're crazy.
Now, the lawsuit claims that this relationship between Sharpe and Jane Doe, again, more than 30 years his junior, was consensual, but it was rocky. She said he'd insisted they were exclusive, but then was caught multiple times lying about his whereabouts and who he was seeing.
They had an exclusive relationship. So the relationship was consensual, but the sex wasn't? Okay.
But then was caught multiple times lying about his whereabouts and who he was seeing.
Shannon, if this is true, you're crazy for even entertaining a 19-year-old. You're out. That's crazy work.
According to the filing
not gonna
quote, by
lie.
October 2024, Sharpe's behavior had grown progressively worse, beyond anything plaintiff had experienced with him before. At this point, he was insistent upon recording their sexual activities, sometimes without her knowledge. Sharpe was also sharing the videos with others without her permission or knowledge. Sharpe would repeatedly tell Doe that he wanted to do to her things that would make no other man want her.
What the hell do you mean by that? What do you mean?
By this point, Sharpe was no longer able to credibly maintain the relationship was exclusive. He had at this point accidentally or purposely, to advance his career, went live on Instagram while having sex with another woman. Sharpe flew into
Okay, relax. They said that it was the woman who did that, not him.
fits of anger when plaintiff noted his infidelity to the relationship or called him out about his extraneous activities. What had once become manipulation, control, and intimidation now became something far more dangerous and sinister. Sharpe even figured out how to get into Doe's apartment complex without her permission. Sharpe made it clear
They are making him sound like a psycho.
that what Doe wanted was of no moment, that Sharpe would get what he wanted when he wanted it. In October 2024, Shannon Sharpe violently sexually assaulted and anally raped plaintiff 2 different times in Las Vegas, Nevada, blatantly ignoring her request for him to stop. He did it again in January.
Oh, nah. That's insane. Anally? Yeah. Nah. If there's evidence, bro, I'm not gonna lie, under the jail, bro. That's crazy work.
Now, before I get into what the claims for relief are here, first, John, your thoughts on that narrative put forward by Jane Doe.
Yeah, I mean, it's deliberately graphic narrative. There's nothing inherently wrong with going into that level of detail in these types of cases to kind of get the court's attention on how serious this is. But it's probably on the more graphic side of the scale in terms of these types of pleadings.
Like, look, all I'm gonna say is you can't say stuff like that and not have a mountain of evidence to back it up, bro, because that's crazy work. You came on to the court and you're saying that Shannon Sharpe took your butt without permission. Like, that's crazy work. You gotta be able to prove that. I'm sorry, bro. That's crazy.
If there are
You said he broke into your apartment, he stalked you, dude, if this dude is true, this nigga needs to be locked up with Diddy. They'll get along just fine.
recordings, how would she be able to get access to them, and how could that help her case?
Well, when she gets into civil discovery, she can demand copies of those. Whether they exist or ever existed, we don't know. But if they do exist, he'll be required to produce those. I mean,
The police can get anything. Look, remember, bro, if it's on your phone, if it was ever on your phone at any point in time, the police can get it. That's all I'm gonna say. Move smart.
those could be significant. I mean, if you have videotapes of either non-consensual behavior or behavior that regardless of how it appears, looks like there's surreptitious recordings of somebody. I mean, that's definitely something that would look really bad for any defendant.
Make no mistake, bro. If this turns out, like, I'm only being, like, iffy about it because I haven't seen no actual proof or nothing yet. If dude like actually recorded himself assaulting this girl, like, I think firing squad is like appropriate. But that's like, I don't know what evidence there is.
Is it problematic for her that they were in a relationship? He talks about in the beginning of the lawsuit, a woman could say yes 99 times. If she says no once and you continue on, that's sexual assault, that's rape. Do you believe that them being in a consensual relationship for a long period of time or a period of time, do you believe that, according to her claims, even after being asked to sign an NDA, she nonetheless engaged in a relationship with him? Do you think that hurts her credibility?
Just a little bit. Like, it does sound crazy. Like, first of all, like, I'm gonna be honest, gang. Like, he's 50 something dating a 19-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even want to hear the rest of that story. I'm gonna be honest. That in itself is crazy to me. That's outrageous. You're literally old enough to be her father. Like, stop it. Get some help. But does it hurt her credibility? It honestly, A little bit. I think it does a little bit, especially when you consider the fact that he got caught smashing another woman on Instagram Live, and she's saying that that was proof of him cheating on her. Yeah, I could see, there's a motive for why you would want to tell a lie. But like I said, I'm only saying this because I haven't seen no type of evidence yet. So if there's like definitive proof, homie deserves to be up there with Epstein.
I don't think it hurts her credibility. I think it's something that a defendant can use to their advantage to show the number of times that there was consensual sexual behavior, as a suggestion that maybe these instances are being manipulated for the purpose of financial gain. So
we're just accepting the fact that this dude dated a 19-year-old. That's like, we're just accepting that. All right.
It's not quite
okay
as bright.
Okay. Like, that's, I'm just saying, I hope we're not gonna, like, that's crazy, gang. I'm not gonna lie, Shannon, that's on you. Like, innocent or not, 50 something dating a 19-year-old, it's not illegal, but it's gonna raise a couple eyebrows, mainly both of mine.
Right line, as if though there had been never any sexual contact between the two of them. But maybe if this was 25 years ago, it'd be more of a problem. I think these days jurors have an understanding that people in intimate relationships can also be victims of sexual violence. So I wouldn't call it a big problem, but it's something that could be manipulated.
They'll definitely jump on top of that in court. Like, lawyers are ruthless. They're definitely gonna jump on top of that and try to make her seem like she's just a bitter ex.
I'm just reading this January 2025 alleged sexual assault. It's pretty disgusting. I mean, she basically says that she was begging for him to stop. He became more aggressive. He wouldn't wear protection, and that this sexual assault lasted roughly 10 minutes. I'm not going to get into the details of it. How does she prove that?
Yeah, I don't need to hear the details of that, bro. I'm not the jury. I don't need to hear all the details, bro. Just
her testimony? Is it that if she told anybody, let's say she didn't tell anybody, didn't tell authorities, is it just her testimony against his? I mean, will that be the key of it, her taking the stand and explaining this happened to her?
That's going to be the center of it for the both of them. They both have the ability to describe what did or didn't happen, and it's going to be believability. Like you said.
So this happened. Like a grown 50-year-old had sex with a 19-year-old. Okay, I'm just making sure that's established. Okay, I'm making sure we just established that. Okay.
If she did tell somebody, that's helpful. If she sought any sort of medical treatment, that's also helpful. But it's also possible that neither of those things happen. It just becomes one person's word against another.
So she is suing for assault, sexual assault, battery, sexual battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I imagine there's probably no statute of limitations issue since this is alleged to have occurred in 2023. Are these relatively broad causes of action, specific causes of action? Are they particularized in any way? Talk to me about what you believe about the...
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't need to hear the rest. I just wanted to hear the overview, right? So that's from 2 days ago. Okay. Now we have an update that happened today where not only did the girl in question get exposed, like she's out there in the open, everybody knows her face now. He dropped some text messages and I mean, we gonna see what they say.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown.
We have a new public response, a new disturbing piece of audio, and new graphic text messages. The legal battle between NFL Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe and his sexual assault accuser definitely has intensified. As we go through these new developments, who's telling the truth about what really happened? Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber.
Jesse Weber.
A new legal war has begun, and this time it's between NFL Hall of Famer, podcaster, commentator Shannon Sharpe and the woman who's accusing him of sexually assaulting and raping her as recently as January of this year. Now, we covered...
Which is crazy work if true.
...this earlier in the week, but now Not only has Shannon Sharpe fired back in a major way, releasing a public message, a response, apparently revealing the identity of this Jane Doe, but he's also published never-before-seen apparent text messages between the two. Quite a response, to say the least. And then what happens? You think the story ends there? No. She fires back by releasing an apparent audio tape between her and Shannon Sharpe.
Oh, Lordy. So, okay, I didn't know about the audio tape. I thought the audio tape was coming from Shannon. I didn't realize she dropped the audio tape. Okay. Okay. Oof, oh, Lord. Okay.
This is crossed to a whole different kind of
Yeah.
level, and I want to get into what we're seeing right now. We're going to break it down, but first, let's take a step back. Let's learn a little bit more about the backstory, what's happening here. So, we have 56-year-old Jane News that after meeting Shannon Sharpe at the gym back in 20 claims they videos with others, her, that he acted. The verbal abuse never stopped. He would berate and degrade plaintiff, just as he had from the beginning. One time, specifically, he was yelling at her while there was a firearm visible in his room. Terrified for her safety, plaintiff tried sharing her location with friends from her iPhone just in case. But Sharpe saw her doing this. The moment he realized what she was doing, he grabbed her by the neck and told her, "If you ever do that again, I will bleeping kill you." And then, this finally all allegedly culminated with Jane Doe claiming that in October of 2024...
Yeah, that he took her, but, yeah, we got
he
that.
sued him for assault, sexual battery, sexual battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress. She's being Doe in an action at stake.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
Shout
out.
Where he says that he first take a guess.
All right, let's go.
So first, we have this statement from him on his Instagram where he says that he's going to be open, transparent, defend himself because this isn't right. And he says that this whole thing is being orchestrated by Tony Busby.
Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out.
You're saying you want him to drop the entire tape? Yo, Shannon, that's crazy work. Trust me, I don't look. That's not evidence that I need to see.
I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media.
And he goes on to say that the encounter in question took place during the day at the invitation of Jane.
Okay, hold on. You know what? Never mind. I was going to try to find the full clip. I don't feel like doing it.
Jane Doe says that this was all a deliberate setup by her. He also, by the way, revealed her first name and apparently her name that she purportedly uses on OnlyFans. We're not going to reveal.
She's an OnlyFans model on top of that.
Those names here. We're not going to do that. But he does go on to say, quote, "My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about, and I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do." And we also got a statement from his attorney, Lonnie J. Davis, and that reads, "Mr. Sharpe categorically denies all allegations of coercion or misconduct, especially the gross lie of rape, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail. He stands firmly by the truth and is prepared to fight these false claims vigorously in court." And Davis has also commented about that apparent tape that was seemingly referenced by Sharpe because he accuses Jane Doe of providing a, quote, secretly recorded and heavily edited video to them that purports to be a non-consensual encounter of some kind. But Davis claimed that Jane Doe, quote, has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version of the recording to Mr. Sharpe's legal team. And then there's this. Sharpe and his legal team released all of these apparent text messages between him and this Jane Doe, reportedly 44
this is what I want to see. I want to see these text messages.
pages worth of communication.
How many?
Is between him and this Jane Doe, reportedly 44 pages worth of communication. For
44.
example, as reported by TMZ, there's one apparent message from October 2023 where Jane Doe seemingly messages Sharpe, "I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're bleeping me." Now the new
Okay, Shannon. Yeah, you definitely have found. Yeah, no, that's. I feel like that's You know what? From the outside perspective, freaky texts are always going to look outrageous. I'm not even going to comment on it.
New York Post reporting on other messages allegedly from Jane Doe, like, tie me up and do bad things to me. I know you missed this big, juicy bleep, $25K for each cheek.
No way you flex a BBL for a freaky text. No. $25K for each cheek.
Tie me up like this and bleep me, with Sharpe replying, if I knew how to, I would. She then allegedly wrote back, it's
mind you, this is with a...
okay, I have handcuffs. We can stick to those for now.
Mind you, bro, this is between a 50-something and a 19-year-old. That I'm just not going to let that go.
Jane Doe also allegedly writing, I want like some hardcore BDSM action though, and feeling kind of freaky lately. And then you have this apparent message from March 14th, 2024. I want to be abused, daddy.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. Shannon, you should have just cut it off right then and there, gang. Did you, what? Excuse me? Yeah, nah, bro. I'm kind of looking at her crazy now. That's an outrageous request. You don't just request that. I don't know. That's not up my alley. I don't be talking like that. That's crazy. That's just crazy work. Okay.
And then another message from last year where she apparently wrote him, I've always wanted a black baby.
Yeah, nah, pack her up, bro. There's no fucking way. Shannon, there's no way, bro. I know Dr. Umar is probably cooking this nigga crispy for this, bro. Bro, what are you... boy, oh boy. I about said this is all your fault, Shannon. I'm not gonna lie, bro. The signs were there. She asked you to abuse her. Like, come on. What are we talking about? A 19-year-old OF model asked you to abuse her. A multimillionaire, she asked you to abuse her, and you just gonna comply with that? Like, what are we talking about? Gang. This is a situation that should have just never even had to occur, bro.
Now, Lonnie Davis commented that, quote, the evidence paints a clear picture. This was a consensual adult relationship that included role-playing, sexual language, and fantasy scenarios.
Don't just try to paint this as some sweet, don't try to paint this as some sweet sex scene. This is, she wanted to make this an episode of JCS Criminal Psychology. What are you talking about? Abuse me. Okay.
So what happens then? Again, this is not the end of the story. Jane Doe ends up releasing an audio tape seemingly between her and Sharpe. And I'm going to explain part of what is heard on this tape. We can't play it for legal reasons, but here is part of the exchange, and this part is key. Again, this is from the audio tape. Jane Doe says, don't manipulate me. Sharpe replies, if you say that word one more time, I'm going to choke the bleep out of you next time I see you. Jane Doe pauses, takes a minute, and says, well, I don't want to be choked. And Sharpe replies, yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Gang. I want to hear the audio call, bro. I want to hear the audio call. Let me see if I can't find it. Hold on, bro.
Anything I say, you're just gonna like get mad at, and you're just gonna hang up on me. So I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
what? What does that even mean?
Nothing, Gabby. You want to be a dick to me now, so.
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke the out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Anything I say, you're just gonna like.
Nigga, I ain't gonna lie. You might be cooked, but you might be done. it might be raps for you, brother. I don't look. I'm not gonna sit here and say that you did, in fact, word her. But come on, bro. You're talking to a teenager, like, whoo. I'm just saying, it's a crazy world that we live in, to where a 50-something-year-old is threatening to choke out a 19-year-old porn star. That's all I'm gonna say. Thank you. Come again.
Now, to be clear, this tape may only be a portion of the entire conversation.
Yeah, true. Like, there could be, like, we don't know. I hate to be the one to say this, but we don't know what led up to that. We don't know what happened after that. We don't know if she, like, because, you know, obviously, if you record something, you're going to be on your best behavior. You're not going to record yourself freaking out and being, like, completely mask off. Either way, though, like, why, you should never say that. you boy, I know, bro. I'm just picturing it in my head now. I'm picturing it in my head now, bro. Imagine Shannon Sharpe sitting down with his lawyer, and the lawyer plays the call. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't even know what to say to that. I wouldn't even know how to defend that, bro.
Audio, but this appears to be a portion nonetheless. Jane Doe's attorney, again, Tony Busby,
either way, it's not okay to say that, like, in a non-role play way.
Described this.
But I ain't gonna lie, Shannon. You heard the language she was using. She said, "You're trying to manipulate me." It was a setup from the start. Let's just be completely clear. Let's just be honest. It sounds like it was probably going to be a setup. You don't just, when you argue with somebody, you don't argue and say, "Stop manipulating me." That was for the courts. Like, let's be real. Come on now. When does anybody argue with somebody and say, you're manipulating me, you're trying to gaslight me? Like, okay, gang, you're trying to line me up. Disengage, be like, you know what, you have a wonderful life, and you move on. Yeah, golly, bro, I'm not gonna lie. If I had money like Shannon, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro, getting in contact with me is gonna be like trying to find Santa Claus. Like, I'm not messing with none of y'all.
Audio as, quote, "The contents of this clip are certainly not sexual. They are not playful. They are instead disturbing, aggressive, and dangerous. This audio paints a very clear picture of how Sharpe treated Jane Doe, leading her to escape from him by leaving Nevada and blocking all contact with him." And he asked,
I don't think it was. No, would I go that far and say it? I gotta hear the entire call before I can say all that. You know what I mean? Like I said, people can put on a show for the camera or for the microphone, you know, because obviously you're not gonna. I already said it. I already said what I said. But Shannon should have not even been in this position in the first place, bro. You shouldn't have been entertaining a 19-year-old at your old ass age. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. All charges, bro. Why are you messing with some 19-year-old Ethan? You are literally a multi-millionaire NFL Hall of Famer. I promise you there was plenty of other fish in the sea. Why are you messing with a 19-year-old at the age of 50 something? Like, come on now. You're starting to enter the territory. Damn near could be a grandkid. Like, come on.
Added that they released this audio
That's crazy.
in response to Sharpe's lawyer, Lonnie Davis, trying to discredit Jane.
That's so crazy, bro. I'm just... Real talk, bro. This is just gonna be a long trial. It all comes down to who has what evidence. You know what I mean? They have a clip of a sex tape and they have a clip of a phone call, but we need to see the entire. Never mind. Not we, not me, the jury, not me. The entire sex tape needs to be. I don't know if the entire sex tape needs to be viewed. That's kind of crazy. But the entire phone call definitely needs to be listened to. You know what I'm saying? But then again, like I said, if you're recording it with a purpose.
By releasing all of these alleged texts, which, by the way, Busby says are basically irrelevant because they're all before the alleged assault. Okay, so now I want to bring on Mauricio Padilla, litigator, criminal defense attorney, to talk more about this. Mauricio, thanks so much.
I don't think they would be irrelevant, Busby, because that means you quite literally asked for it. But Shannon shouldn't have even. I don't even joke around with stuff like that. You're crazy. What? You see my skin? If they showed me engaging with that, I'm done. It's a wrap.
Much for taking the time. Let's just start with the lawsuit and the allegations, suing for $50 million. Very graphic details about these multiple.
Yeah, I don't need to see the rest of this video. Shannon, I'm not gonna lie to you, gang. This is quite the predicament. This is something you should have not even. You shouldn't even be in this situation. I'm gonna be real with you. A 19-year-old OnlyFans girl, like, come on, you're crazy. You're crazy. I guarantee you could have bagged yourself something a little bit more in your age range. Let's be real. And then, like, with the whole please abuse me, daddy. What? I'm calling the police right there. What are you talking about? Like, no, nah, hell no. When you got a lot of money, when you got something to lose, you can't even play around with stuff like that. I'm not gonna lie, Unc, you definitely were moving outrageous. I need to see more evidence before I can come to a solid conclusion, because real talk, I'm not completely convinced that he, like, you know, he raped her and stuff, but I'm definitely, you know what I'm saying, he might be a little chopped, like, in this situation. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.